Sometimes when we are running our code, we have a piece of code that we want repeated a certain number of times. This is called a loop. And there are two main types of loops. We have a for loop and a while loop. In a for loop, we're going to repeat a section of code a specific number of times. The general format of a for loop begins with the word for. Next, we are going to create a temporary variable that is going to act as our counter. Some people like to use the letter I for this variable to stand for iterations, or X to represent the number of times it is carried out, or even a meaningful term that represents what the variable is counting. Next, we put the word in, and after this, we put the variable or object that we are counting through. Let's take a look at an example. Sports equals list basketball, comma, volleyball, comma, soccer, end list. For I in sports, print I. In this example, we are creating a list variable called sports and putting in the entries basketball, volleyball, and soccer. Then we are going into our loop by stepping through the list one item at a time. Each time we loop through, we are going to print out that item. The result will look like this: basketball, volleyball, soccer. We can also have loops inside of other loops to make even more intricate and complex pieces of code. Here's an example of that. For hooray counter in range of 1, 4. For hip counter in range 2, print hip, print hooray. This code has several important things to go through. First, we are using a command called range. The range command will have two numbers. The first number is the starting number in the range, and the second number is what it goes up to, but not including. So for a range 1, 4, we are starting at the number 1 and 2 and then 3. We go up to 4 but do not include it. This means that the for loop for range 1, 4 will repeat 3 times. You can also use a single number for range, which will repeat that many times. For example, range 4 will repeat the loop 4 times. Each time we loop, we are going to get into another for loop that is looping 2 times, each printing the word hip. Once that's complete, it finishes the original for loop by printing the word hooray before starting all over again. The final thing to take note of in this program is the indentation. Notice that the indentation follows the specific for loop that it refers to. Because of this, we know that the print hip command goes with the second for loop, while the print hooray command is part of the first for loop. If this code was run, it would return hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray.